Hey, what's up everybody? This is Stephen Harrell, Tiny House Listings, and I wanted to share a really cool event coming up with you guys I'm excited about. It's called the Tiny House 2017 North Carolina Street Festival. Mouthful. It'll actually be April 21st through 23rd, and it'll be in a small, quaint little town called Pink Hill, North Carolina, where there's going to be lots of guest speakers, myself included, and it's being put on by Andrew Odom from Tiny Revolution. And what else can I tell you? There'll be lots of tiny houses there, all kinds of cool stuff for the kids. I'll leave the link below. And a few days ago, we had the chance to catch up with some of the people that will be attending the festival and wanted to see what they thought about the festival and tiny houses in general. So here it goes.
Well, I just want everybody to see how simple they are and how simple of a lifestyle it can be. This particular tiny house was built by teenagers, so it just goes to prove that anybody can do it. And the entire inside of it was finished by me, so it also goes to show that somebody older can do it too. It's not rocket science, but I just want people to see how much simpler you can make your life by paring down and getting rid of the things that we don't need and only surrounding ourselves with the things that we need and we really love. Yeah. Yes, and that's the good thing also about the festival, because there'll be so many different types of tiny houses there, and it just shows that you're only limited by your imagination and what you need to live for your life. I know people have even seen my tiny house and there's things about it they don't like, and that's fine. But it's what I like, and it's what we need to live our lives. So the different tiny houses at the festival are just going to show everybody the limitless possibilities.
Why would Chef and the Farmer want to get on board with something like a tiny house street festival?
Well, when we opened here more than 10 years ago, Chef and the Farmer was completely out of the box and the last thing you would expect to see in Eastern North Carolina. And I think Tiny House Street Festival is much the same, but it's just quirky enough to work.
And not being from Eastern North Carolina and moving here, one of the things I said when I first moved here was that I met more characters in the first 6 months of living in this area than I met in all 3 years living in New York. So if we're talking about quirky houses for quirky people, this is the place.
Do you have any hopes for the street festival coming here? Like, do you think seeing tiny houses and non-traditional houses and that sort of stuff, do you think those things could help our region kind of transform itself and move into the future in a more viable way?
Yeah, I definitely think that the tiny house movement is perfectly suited to Eastern North Carolina. We have lots of land. It's very beautiful. In some ways, our modern take on things hasn't been completely defined. So I feel like maybe tiny houses could be a big part of it.
And I really, just to echo that, I think two things that really are important in this area to address that I think Tiny House does, since we have such a low median income, $23,000 a person, is aesthetics and equity. And I think, Tiny House presents a unique opportunity for people who are on the lower wage scale to create equity and create wealth, which renting does not do. And I think because it's a movement that's rooted in clever design, that it also has a tremendous value for aesthetics. And I think, if we can take, one trailer away and replace it with a tiny house that has more aesthetic, I think that increases the quality of life, not only for individuals, but for the community as a whole.
As a community member, as someone who is a mover and a shaper in the community, what does it mean to have a tiny house festival to bring in this sort of non-traditional housing into this quaint town? What could it do for this town?
My husband and I are redeveloping downtown Pink Hill, and we think the tiny house community will be a wonderful asset. And we're looking at building a tiny house community and also a small house community. We are trying to build a walking community, a technology center with a gigabit internet, and also make this an internet community, a high-tech community. So we are an hour from the beach, but we are very affordable, very inexpensive to live in. We have one stoplight, that's the longest light in town. And we love it here, and everything we need is right here, and we think the tiny house community would be a huge asset.
What's one of the visual things that you're most excited about sharing with the people that come to the street festival?
Well, we're the only pink hill in the country, like a town, and we have 2,800 pink roses that are going to be blooming at the Tiny House Festival. That's 4 roses for every person that lives here. And we're building white picket fences. We want this to be a beautiful town where you want to walk and you want to live like a storybook town that you always dreamed of.
That's so good.
That was
really
perfect.
good.